What's up, people? It's your man Joshua Pondexter. We are live this evening. I'm in the Chicagoland area. It's 7 p.m. Central Standard Time this evening. Our topic is, of course, this is our segment, Wealth and Health. The topic is obesity, personal, national, and worldwide health crisis. And I got a special guest with me, Gerard Ware. His information is down in the description of the video. It tells you that he's the president or CEO of two organizations, right? The podcast, The Floor is Yours. That's a for-profit company. Then he has a non-profit, not-for-profit, which is MOSHE, right? And he's going to tell us more about those. But he's a stand-up citizen. And you might say, well, what do these two fat boys got to say about obesity, right? So, hey, one of the reasons that we started to do this, Gerard, and I'm gonna let you introduce yourself to people, is that health or wealth, which one you want, right? So if people had a choice, they would take health, because if they had good health, they could get wealth. And so then we got to see some things in our community that was causing bad health, that was impacting our wealth, right? We talked about depression. We had a doctor on here that talked about holistic things of that nature. And so today we're talking about obesity, right? So Gerard, tell us a little bit about yourself and your two organizations.
Yeah, appreciate you for letting me be on your platform. I consider it an honor, man, anytime I share the screen with you. You know, you're a man of great wealth and great knowledge, and a lot of what I do, I owe it, a lot of it to you, you know, just forming my organization. Talk about MOSHE. MOSHE is a grassroots community-based organization where we work with linking the people in the community with the leaders of the community. What we find out is a lot of time, Josh, you know, and we talked about this, that you get people, say a mentoring program, they you know, offer mentorship, but they don't have the mentees, and vice versa. You got the mentees that can't find the mentors. What are the responsibilities of our elected officials in our community? You know, we're giving them our platform, we're letting them come out and reach the people, you know, not just during campaign season, but after the campaign, when it's time to do the work. You know, we want to hold those people accountable to you know, what they promised you during the campaigning season. So you know, we do a lot of that right there. And then the podcast is our way to really give a voice to our people. You know, sometimes, man, just giving people a voice gives them hope. You know, we don't feel like you're being heard, it kind of deflates you and take the energy out of what you're doing. So that's what The Floor is Yours is about, and MOSHE is about, man. And just happy to join you to hit this important topic, man, about the obesity epidemic.
Yep, epidemic. It's a pandemic. It's a medical. It's a healthcare crisis, and I appreciate that you're talking about giving the politicians an opportunity to serve. And you'll find that, sure, you have, that most of them want to serve. They don't know how to bridge that gap themselves. Right? Because they got in the office because they want to give. Then they get the office and they look around and go like, okay, anything here? Where we going? What we gonna do? Well, I ain't got nothing for you to do but sit in this office, boss. So they are looking for things to do. So we're gonna talk about obesity, right? And before we we get into it, because I said it's a personal and a national and a worldwide health crisis. You know, and we'll talk about BMI in detail a little later, but I took my BMI. I'm 6 feet tall. I weigh 236 pounds. My BMI is 32. And what that means is I am obese, right? So it's personal with me, right? And so I'm gonna back up and let you see my 6 feet tall frame, 236 pounds. And I'm like, I look like a linebacker. What you talking about? I'm obese. No, I'm hold on. So that's the deal. It's back up, right? So this is it. Like I said, do a 360. That's what obesity look like, right?
Yeah.
It's not something where um, you just totally out of perspective. When I did my metrics, it says I was obese, right? And basically we're gonna talk about how it's personal to me because I'm not playing with the Chicago Bears, right? So I don't need all that mass on my body. It's doing something to my body, right? So overweight, obesity as abnormal and excessive fat accumulation that present a risk to health. The body mass index over 25 is considered overweight and over 30 is obese, right? So body mass index, is that a controversial metric, Brother Ware?
You know, some people heart and mind, yeah, it is. But you know, to your point, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but when I understood what it was about, you know, I get it. Can I operate and function at a high level with if my number is higher, you know, above what? Yes, I can. I've seen, you know, you just look at some of the athletes out there, the offensive line, defensive line. These are big guys, right? And they're in decent shape, but health-wise, you know, think about the long-term effects and what that can do to your body. And you know, just look at some of the guys. Just real quick, I was in Vegas last year at a friend's bachelor party.
Okay.
And we ran into one of your great running backs, OJ Simpson.
Okay.
And, man, this brother was laboring, man, just to watch him walk. And literally, I'm not even exaggerating. It probably took this guy about 5 minutes to walk. Not even a couple hundred yards, man. It was
not the juice.
Oh, not the juice, the other OJ.
The other OJ, right? Yeah. You know, he come on juice to
that's it. But you know, that's the issue is that even though you're in decent shape, you know, you may have a strong heart or you know, be able to run, but the wear and tear that it does on your body, man. And I think that's what the medical professionals are coming from. You know, long term, what does that mean? When you put that kind of stress on your body.
Right, absolutely, because it's mass, body, got a body, we got mass on it, and so there's an index. So it is a scientific measurement somewhat. It's not, we don't use it to diagnose disease or anything like that, right? But it's a measurement to say that, hey, something is out of perspective, but I said, well, is obesity a disease? Obesity is a complex disease. This is what the medical professionals are calling it, saying obesity is a complex disease. Extra calories, and the main cause, extra calories are stored in the body as fat, right? Normally high fat and high sugar foods cause it, right? So, so someone said, well, I don't eat a lot, but you're eating a lot. You're eating primarily high fat, high sugar foods, right? And so sometimes we can be obese, right? As I pointed out myself, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm cool. I put my suit on, you know, them girls still looking at me, you know. So, you know, I'm like, I'm cool. You feel good about yourself. Put your dress on and you still feel good because them guys still hollering at you, right? But there's some symptoms to obesity. Let's check them out. One of them is your sleep, right? Difficulty in sleeping. You know, people are like, wow, I just don't sleep well. I wake up tired. What's going on, right? There's a problem. Sleep apnea. So we know that's a problem because they selling a machine every commercial, right? CPAPs, right? Drowsiness, right? Just get drowsy. Back and joint pain. Excessive sweating. You see somebody, they just sweating. You know, you got all that mass on you. The body is just being overworked from just standing there. Like you said, OJ took him half an hour to walk half a block. Intolerant to heat. You know, you folks in Texas shouldn't be complaining about the heat.
You youngsters say, I know you lying.
right. We're from Africa, right? We shouldn't be intolerant to heat. So I, don't make it a racial thing, but you see who's on the road working. The Mexicans. Do they look like they got intolerance to heat?
You say that again?
I said the Mexicans that are out there on the construction working, making $25-30 an hour.
Yeah.
No, so you can tell me you can't go out there in the heat because must be obesity. Fatigue, depression, right? We talked about depression, right? So now these are some of the symptoms. So you can say, well, am I experiencing some of those symptoms even though, I'm cute, right? Even though the opposite sex is still finding me attractive, right? But I'm still having these symptoms. Maybe these symptoms of obesity is telling me that I need to work on my body mass index, right?
Yeah, and that's the beauty about the symptoms, Josh, is that that is the warning sign that something's going on. And unfortunately, we've ignored them for years. We talked about earlier through our discussion how we'll mask those symptoms instead of dealing with the real issue. I'm notorious for those BC powders, man. And ever since after my 20 plus years in the Army, I put on about another 15 pounds. Right. And I feel it in my knees, and then it ain't just the weight, but it's the constant, running and road marches and all that. So, I remember my physical therapist told me, like, man, you would change your quality of life like greatly if you just lost 10 to 15 pounds.
Yeah. And, absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. So we talk about high fat and high sugar foods.
Yeah.
We're gonna delve a little deeper into that sugar a little later, but that sugar is causing inflammation in the body. That's why them joints are hurting, man. That's why our knees are hurting, our back is hurting, right? Because of inflammation in the body caused by all that sugar that's in our food supply, right? Yeah. So what happens? So feeling shortness of breath, that's a symptom of obesity, right? You said like OJ, he was having some problems, and you see people, walk in and they just barely chucking along, right? Yeah. So what happens to the body when you have obesity? Increase of several debilitating diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, and some cancer. So diabetes, man, is a killer. Yeah. It is killing us. It's killing our community, right? And people always say that's a reversible disease with diet, right? And people go, okay, yeah, I'm gonna change my diet and I'm gonna start eating healthy, but you can get tricked at the grocery store, like with what is healthy, right? Yeah. So these diseases they're killing us. Now it's a personal thing, because I told you that when I did my BMI, I'm a fat boy. I got 32 was my number, right? And so we definitely need to get that down, and I'm motivated to do so. So the U.S. adult obesity rate stands at 42%, right? And so depending on where you look, the number might be higher, but 42%, that's a lot for the adult. That's almost half of the population, right? Yeah. That's obese. That's incredible. Then childhood obesity rate is about 20%, right? Worldwide data say that 13% of adults in the world are obese, 39% of adults are overweight, right? So this is not only a local thing, this is national and worldwide, right? Yeah, it's incredible, man. So that's some of the challenges that we're looking at. I think the reason that I'm pointing this out is because I just want to point out the fact that obesity is real, right? Yeah, and so we cannot hide behind the fact that I'm big boned, right? It's my genetics, right? Bone density has proven that everybody got practically the same bone density,
Right.
right? So it ain't been. It's a real deal. It's a real issue. So before we go into the nuances, talking about the food, right, and how it's Korean, I just want to share some more data because a lot of people don't like the BMI, right? See, a BMI, it's a screening measurement, and it's not intended to diagnose disease or illness. It's just a screening, right? So if you say, okay, my BMI is showing I'm overweight or obese, now I have the propensity to get high blood pressure, diabetes, all those other things, right? Yeah. So I'm going in the when you take your Mercedes or whatever your car in to get that because on the dashboard it tell you it's ready for uh, program A, program B check, right? You go get that screen, right? Yeah. So body mass index is a person's weight in kilograms divided by the square of the heights in the metric. So there's a mathematical formula, and you can do it in pounds, right? So and the reason I bring this out because it ain't racist. It's not. It's just a mathematical formula, right? Yeah. So if 2 + 2 = 4 is racist, we got a problem. Yeah. So this is what did you look at? What did you find out about body mass index? That's something that because I think we talked earlier about we rarely find a doctor that use it, right? What's your thought on body mass index?
Yeah, I think it's an important tool. It's one of those things that most doctors don't bring it up. They try to pump you through, through the screening and give you, the immediate needs. I think one of those things about obesity is that we've kind of become numb to it, right? When we look at, especially if you're on like the borderline of what that considered to be obesity,
right. Yeah.
especially in our community, man, we see a woman, we call her thick. And we say we don't want a skinny bone woman. And most they don't want a skinny bone man. But the thing is, I think we look at the health effects that cause. I think that we could potentially change our minds on it. So that's why I think these discussions are important. We got to just really educate the people and let them know, like, hey, the way you think, the way you eat, the way you live is important. And the body mass index is just a portion of it.
Yeah.
The other part is your activity.
Yeah, it's a guide to let you know. And one of the reasons why doctors don't really deal with that, and because they like anybody else, they need to keep their customers. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be telling your customers the truth that you shouldn't have bought this 12-cylinder. You should have just went on got the 6-cylinder Benz.
Yeah,
and you would have been fine, right? But no, he's trying to sell you the $100,000. $150,000 vehicle, right? So, see, there's other methods which to look at body fat, right? Skin fold, thickness measurements, right? They use a little caliber with those, right? I don't know. You ever had a personal trainer, and that's what he started out. He put them little things on you, right, and said, "Boy, you fat. Let's get some of this fat off of you," right? Yeah. Underwater weigh-in. Right, is another method. Bioelectrical impedance, right, is another method. So what is that? So that means that they're going to shoot some electricity to you, and depending on how much fat in your body is how slow that electric current going to travel, right? Dual energy X-ray absorption optometry. It's another isotope delusion. Right, so there's other ways to measure it, right? Those other methods sound like you have to spend some money to get it done, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So okay, somebody, can you see the questions here? There was a question by
yeah. You want me to read that?
Yeah.
So from Mia Nicole, appreciate you tuning in, Mia. One of our faithful followers. She says, "What I found in my weight maintenance journey is that most insurances don't see obesity as a disease or will cover preventable measures. That's true. It was quite frustrating that because of all my blood work. And then she goes on to say, and blood pressure was great, textbook. They couldn't cover things, and that's unfortunate. You know, if they know that technically you can be, you know, obese or whatever, but because your blood pressure is good or some other measurements are good, that they choose not to cover it.
Well, that's a very good point, Mia. Because it's cataloged as a disease, doesn't mean that the insurance company cover it, right? And so we're going to talk about we're going to hit on that topic. So I took another route to understand the science behind weight loss. Okay, very good, very good. Yeah,
that's self accountability right there, right?
Absolutely.
Totally depending on what they tell you about.
Yeah, because it's definitely in your control. And so, definitely, as we were talking and looking at this topic, you know, I pointed out I'm obese, right? 6 feet tall, 236 pounds, BMI 32. That's the mass that I have on my body ranks me as obese, right? So I don't need that much weight. I'm not playing football, right? So there's some other, and we're just going to go through all this BMI stuff, then we'll get into some interesting topics, right? The BMI interpreted, right? 18.5 and under is underweight, right? 18.5 to 2.59 is considered healthy weight. I've been knowing about BMI for 20 plus years. I ain't never been a healthy weight. Always been, let's say 188 should be my number. I've always been about 202, 205, right? 25 to 29 is overweight. 30 and above is obesity, right? So there's some people that are that, and so these are just healthy, you know, healthy weights, right? So like you're saying, the BMI is not something that we should just dismiss in totality. When okay, she got some more stuff here, right? She said, okay, go ahead, Gerard.
Yeah, she said she was able to drop the weight and still working on it. But if she had high blood pressure or borderline diabetic, then they would have covered certain weight loss aids. So again, just extension what she said earlier. It's unfortunate because again, you know, they want you to get sick, and that's, you know, sound kind of crude, but it's the truth. Until you're ill, they not the maintenance or the preventive stuff is not well. That's why I don't like calling it health care. It's really sick care.
Right, and that's what she just pointed, meds. That's what they wanted to give her. They couldn't prescribe any meds, so there was no financial incentive for them to keep moving forward. So obesity is real, right? It is. We can use the BMI and other measurements to see if we obese, right? And so, as I was telling Gerard earlier, when I began to look at this topic and think about it, you know, from a historical perspective, me being a fat boy ain't my fault. It is. They have designed the food to make us fat. They have put it all in sugar. She said I had okay, all right. She had a last one that did one. What Miss Hill? So I had they had designed the food to make us fat. Diet Coke, diet cookies, sugarless cookies, all this processed food that we have bought into, and they call it healthy food. No, it's killing us, right? So now we want to kind of, Gerard, we want to talk about healthy eating, right? Healthy eating. So could you, from your perspective, share with me for you what healthy eating is?
For me, it's not just what you eat; it's the knowledge of what you're eating, and you know the timing of what you're eating, and the most important for me too is portion control. You know, because you can get healthy foods, but if you eat a ton of it, then it begins to be, you know, gluttony, and that can be so healthy eating. I think is in part what you eat. You know, there we talked about, and you hear some of the experts say that your health is really 80% of your diet.
Yeah.
But you know, it's huge. But if the other 20% is bad habits, then it'll offset the 80%, you know, and it's not just the calorie intake. And what I'm saying is what you've been alluding to is that sugar. So Dr. Sanjay Gupta, he's one of the medical doctors, the correspondent on CNN. He talked about that our ancestors, well before the age of these processed sugars, that they only had sweets, you know, a few times a year, and that was when fruit was ripe and it was time to pick them off the tree. You think about that in context, right? That's the only time that they had sweets throughout the year. So it wasn't constantly throughout the year the ice creams and cinnamon rolls and the Krispy Kremes and all that stuff, right? Where we're constantly pumping our body full of sugar. So it's no wonder that when you see the diseases that we carry versus what our ancestors did, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, because I tell people all the time, you know, like, you know, we're from the same place, Texarkana, Arkansas, and then when we look at the generation before us and how those people were living 80 and 90 plus years, healthy and strong, well, they was living off the land. They cultivated their own food. They raised their own animals, right? So what we call organic is how they were living. Yeah. Right. So healthy foods to me is when you eat food straight out the ground, right? All your produce, you get it straight out the ground. And the animals that you eat, they eat the food straight out the ground, right? But we have a problem because we go get our stuff from the grocery store, right? Fruits and vegetables and animals, right? From the grocery store. So now that stuff is processed. We don't know what happened to it, right? So the closer that we can get back to organic eating is better, right? I don't even trust Whole Foods.
Hey, Josh, you make a good point though about the idea about the processed foods. So a lot of people I know are vegan. But you know, they got these vegan chicken nuggets and these vegan burgers and you know, all these things that's you know, is plant-based, but what the process that it go through just to make these things up and to create the texture that they got. Right. I mean, things of calorie-wise, sometimes they're higher than their knockoff the food that they're trying to knock off, like the actual chicken nuggets, right? So, when you look at some of this stuff that's in there, and again, CNN had an article that talked about people's brain health as they age, dementia, and Alzheimer's. It can be related and traced back to people that eat high processed foods. Yes, right. So it's something to think about, even if you're a vegan, that you could potentially still be having bad eating habits.
If you're a vegan and you eating Doritos and drinking Coca-Cola, that's vegan.
Is it? Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's vegan, but that ain't the right type of vegan, right? So Doritos have no animal byproducts in it. Coca-Cola has no animal products in it, right? Strictly meets the definition of vegan. Yeah, but it is harmful to you.
But those vegan chicken nuggets, though, those things they're bad for you, man. They are.
Yeah. So and the Impossible meat, horrible. It's horrible. So it's said that lunch meat, you know, the one you get in the deli, has enough carcinogen in it that is on the level of plutonium.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So that's lunch meat on the level of plutonium. Right. Now, what's the difference in that processed veggie meat? Right. Yeah. So once again, if you want to eat healthy, right, you can get it out the ground. Right. So I love this time of the year because all here around, I'm very close to Indiana and farms, all these farmers market. I can go get my fresh fruits and vegetables. I can go to the farm. I can get it. And if I was a meat eater, they have farms right over here in Indiana where I can go pick my chickens, and I can have them raised until my grain fed, my cattle, everything, and then I can have them. What they say, safely put down, not shot in the head with a tool or whatever, and I can control my food. But the difference, that does cost a lot of money.
In time.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money. So everybody can't do that. So you have to make some healthy choices, right? Emphasis should be on fruits and vegetables, whole grain, fat-free, low-fat milk, because all this fat and high processed stuff. You got to have proteins, right? That's a part of that should go into that diet, a healthy diet, right? You can get protein from animals, or you can get it from vegetables, right? Somebody's talking to us on here.
Okay, it says, like the doctor said, if I had a barcode on it, don't eat it.
Yeah, I know, right? Right. So we had a barcode on it, don't eat it.
Yeah, but it's a good point. But to your point, it's difficult. Not only is it expensive, but it's time consuming. If you're gonna get out there and grow your own food, man.
Yeah, and your health should be definitely worth it. Kevin here, he's a vegan, and I went to one of his vegan meetups where he got a group that get together, and he promotes healthy living, right? So low added sugars and sodium, right? So you want to eliminate as much as the sugar and sodium as you can out of your diet, right?
What about my ketchup and hot sauce, though, Josh?
Yeah, those things are bad. The ketchup got plenty of sugar in it. Yeah. I don't know. I've never eat hot sauce. That probably got sugar in it.
Man, you've been gone from the South too long, man. We're gonna get you back on some of that Texas people
Louisiana. Yeah, some Louisiana hot sauce. And drink plenty of water. See, this is the things that consist of a healthy diet, right? And so this is the thing. I don't know. Most people don't know this, but if you remember when the tobacco industry was sued and had to pay out billions of dollars in claims, right? I didn't get any of that money.
Didn't stop anything though. So
well, here's what the tobacco industry did. So it's noted that the scientists that created the cigarettes, they created them to be addictive, right? Yeah. There was no way to get off of them but leukemia, right? This is the way it was created. So the tobacco industry has spent decades studying how to addict people, right? So they got sued, right? And then they took the last riches that they had, which that was about 30 plus years ago. And what did they do? They bought all the food industry. The company Reynolds. That's the only name I can really think of now, because you don't even remember those companies' name anymore, right? Now they bought Nabisco, and they bought all this processed food. So the people that had the tobacco industry, now they own our processed food industry. They are scientific geniuses at addicting people through food, right? Now, I don't know. I was listening to a podcast earlier. The doctor was talking about how insidious sugar is, right? How it destroys the pancreas, the liver, these major organs, right? How that 9 and 10-year-old African American boys are coming up with type 2 diabetes, right? Because mama been giving them the sugar from birth, right? Put Coca-Cola in their bottles, right? Just it's serious. So when I say that, if my position is that if you are obese, it's not your fault. I don't know how you feel about that, Gerard. But
I agree because I know where you're coming from. So
right. But once you find out, like Mia, and want to take, once you realize you can take control and take accountability and change your life through diet, right, and exercise, right, and the thing and making healthy choices, then it becomes your responsibility, right?
And can I add a couple components?
Please, man.
Yeah. You said diet and exercise, but I think so is time management, sleep management, and
yes,
it's all holistic. And I know your doctor talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we think from a holistic, there's a lot that goes into it. And when I saw this one gentleman say that just by controlling what you eat or when you eat, if you control when you eat, meaning if you plan your meals, then it'll change the rest of your life. Yeah. And he just talked about the residuals from that. If you plan your meals, that means that you're planning your day around your meals. You're picking and choosing what you're eating. Financially, it makes a difference on how much money you spend. Yes. What you're putting in your body, which affects your health. And that affects your sleep and all that right there. So I started that, Josh, really about a year ago. And just financially, I can tell you, like I was able to save a lot of money just by planning my meals. So excellent. I think that's one of the benefits from that.
No, absolutely. What my man's saying here, he said, read that for us.
Yeah, he says, if I remember correctly, it was said in a study that sugar is more addictive than cocaine.
I don't know about more, but I would use the word just as addictive, right? Because what it does, it interacts with the same center of the brain as cocaine does, right? So the cocaine triggers a part of your brain, right? The same one that's triggered with sex, and sugar triggers that, and since the body cannot create sugar or cocaine, it will drive you crazy if you don't get it. Yeah, right. That's the definition of addiction, right?
Yeah, and it's not just the pleasure that it gets. Like we talked earlier about these people when they're trying to come off sugar. I remember my experience, the headaches, how sluggish I felt, when coming off. So it's a real life true addiction.
It's addictive. I did a 10-day sugar fast, and I had I kind of these little wick shirts, right? I kind of like to wear in the bed because I like my air conditioner on. Man, I would wake up, this thing was sweat. It was wet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what the heck is going on? Yeah. And I'm sweating. I'm like having chills. It's like I thought I had a flu. The body was detoxing, right? Yeah, it was incredible. So healthy eating is critical. And then some physical activity, right? Some walking, some running, some weight training, right? And the benefits of that is that you improve your sleep quality, you reduce high blood pressure, you reduce the risk of osteoporosis and fall, because once you get old and you fall, people know it's over, right? You can reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. All these modern diseases that we have, depression, anxiety, that's taking us out earlier. You got a 50-year-old man or woman that's even younger than that, let's say 40, they in tip-top physical condition from the outside, it looks like, and then they have a massive heart attack. Yeah, that's anxiety, right? Yeah. Being anxious, right? So and then when I was listening to this doctor, he said that your gut fat is indicative of depression and anxiety, right? Yeah. So so with obesity is real. It's a solvable problem. Trust me. When I went and looked at these things and did just a little research, I felt good because I came away with Joshua. It's not your fat. It's not your fault that you're a fat boy. They tricked you, man. They got you addicted. They sliding all this sugar and the salt into stuff that you think are healthy, right? Like you're saying, the vegan processed food, that stuff is not healthy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they tricking us. They got the vegans thinking trick. And then this is how cold-blooded it is. I hope he ain't watching the show, but I know a vegan chef that he got a restaurant, the stuff that he sells to the public, he don't even eat it.
Well,
Yeah, he said, I don't eat that. I had to make that taste good for them.
yeah.
Like the sauces and all that, right?
Yeah.
They think they're eating healthy.
Yeah.
He's like, he's almost 80 years old, got no body fat, look like he about 40. Ain't nobody come in this store look like him.
80%, Josh.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of obesity, right? It is real. It's not something to, and it has keep creeping up on us unless we as citizens take a stand against it. They're going to keep pumping that processed sugar, salt ridden food. They scripting all the fiber out of the food. I'm a bread lover, right? I love whole wheat bread, but you need to check that label, because what they do, they strip the wheat germ off of it and they feed that to the animals.
Yeah.
That's the nutritional part. And then they leave you some brown looking bread.
Brown looking.
And you think you got some whole wheat. Come on, man. This is game. They running game on us. It is corporate greed, right? Yeah. That brother, you remember that preacher on the East Coast said that sugar is taking more of my people than the streets. Sugar is taking more of my people than the streets. Right? If you're a parent, it is totally irresponsible to feed your children that crap, right? I remember with my youngest son, I used to send him to school, and I'd cut up his fruit and I'll put him all in these little bags, and he hated it, right? He said, "Why can't I get any fruit snacks like the other kids?" Right? And then one day, this little pretty girl said, "Jeremiah, can I have some of your fruit? I love that you have that fresh fruit." He's like, "Dad, keep putting that fruit in my bag."
So that's what it took. Is that what it took, Josh?
That's what it took, boy. I'm telling you. So that's a little boy. You know what influence a positive influence you women could have on us grown men, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Right. It's love. That's when they talk about. They could tell when you cook from your heart.
Yes, sir.
You know, when you put your heart into the meals, man, it's a difference.
So it's important. Obesity is real. It's a personal problem. It's a community problem. It's a national problem. It is preventing us from our greatness. We have the greatest athletes on planet Earth, right? And it's one vein. But then we have the most ill people in the country, right? Yeah. That dichotomy doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And so I heard this one guy said that Americans eat like they are rich, and people in third world countries eat like we're poor. So we eat all this food at restaurants and eating all out and stuff like that, like rich people. But the rich Americans eat like poor people, right? They eat all fruits and vegetables, lean meat, things of that nature, right?
But they want to. So they don't even look like that they're missing out. They want to eat that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because they're more productive, right? If you notice a guy or a girl that are high performers, right? And I mean making millions of dollars. The first thing that they do, right, is they go get a diet check, right? They go get it and say, "Look at Jeff Bezos. He look like a little old Mighty Mouse now." He got his whole thing together. He's like, I got all this money. I want to live, right? There are rich, wealthy people that are spending millions of dollars a year on longevity, right? Trying to live here longer, right? So it's a real thing. We have been tricked. We'll continue to be tricked. All this sugar and salt and super processed food is killing us, right? It's killing us physically, but this show is health and wealth. So let me tell you about the economic costs, right? It's killing. So the medical cost of obesity is almost 190 billion per year in the U.S. That's 21% of the medical spending in the U.S. So they are not trying. It's a profit center for them, right? That's 190 billion. What other industry make that much money on keeping people fat, right? So that's just the medical industry. Then we're not talking about the advertisers they advertising us Tang, trying to get us to buy you want to be an astronaut. That's what we man. I knew I was going to be an astronaut, and I used to drink that Tang. They had me going, man. So personally, here's the medical cost, right? 36% higher healthcare costs if I'm obese, right? 105% higher prescription costs. 39% higher primary care costs. So that means that I am going to my doctor more, right? These costs, these medical expenses for being obese, right? And obesity is 30 pounds overweight, y'all. Let's make it clear. Morbid obesity, you're 100 pounds overweight, right? So once you get into that range right there, it's causing some serious problems, right? So the indirect problem. So we want to know, well, I was working at my job and I was there for 15 years and I was a super performer. And then the company laid off people and I got laid off and I got my master's degree and I can't get another job because you're obese, right? And that's why the employer is not hiring. Indirect costs, women have an extra 6 days a week being off if they're obese. Men have about 9.5 days off if they're obese, right? Absenteeism is a big problem. So an employer go like, no, that's a solid 10 days. I already know you're going to miss just for being overweight, right? Disability, premature mortality. This is the indirect cost of being obese. Workman's compensation, right? That's the last thing companies want to spin out, workman compensation, right? I was talking to somebody and they said they got injured on the job. And I said, how did you get injured in that maneuver? I'm obese. I don't move around. Come on now. So obesity is a real issue in our community. Brother Gerard, I don't mean to dominate the conversation.
Oh, man, I'm at school over here, man. I love the numbers and the stats you're putting out. But I'll tell you that, again, just to reiterate, it's more than what we eat.
Yes, sir.
And the focus on the eating, but your mental health. You talked about that, and we can't mention that enough. That it really affects your eating habits. So just making sure that you're mentally and emotionally well, and the other things, just sometimes getting rid of old, just bad behaviors and bad ways of thinking. We're an industrialized society. We're trying to do as much as we can with the least amount of people as possible. So we're overworked.
Yes.
Ideally, we would like to grow our own food and raise our own animals, but time-wise, money-wise, it's just impractical.
Absolutely. It's not practical. But you can. There's hacks to that, right? I'm not going to say that whole food is a hack, but there's some other places that sell organic food that they source very well. you know.
But mainly it's just a mindset, and you got to say that I want to do differently, and do a little research on your own. You don't have to be a doctor or have a degree to figure out how to eat better. You know, and it really starts with those sugars. And you know, if we can control those sugars, I think you're in a better spot to control your weight and just your whole quality of life.
Amen. Amen to that. One another thing you said was rest, right? Sleep, right? So I wasn't, you know, I didn't know it, that I wasn't sleeping well. And so when I went to the doctor, my blood pressure was elevated, right? And so every all of the matrix were just, you know, such thing as perfect, but you know, it was wonderful. It was good, right? And so my blood pressure was just elevated. They kept trying to give me these drugs, and I would say, no, 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 no. And so I talked to this one doctor, and he was like, do you know, he said, you probably have sleep apnea, right? And I said, So that means that during the night, I'm stopped breathing, right? You know, things of that nature. And we found out that was the deal, right? Yeah. And so I will wake up with these headaches, right? And that's another symptom of sleep apnea, because when you stop breathing, oxygen is not getting to your brain.
Yeah.
Right. And so sometimes I'll wake up and I'll be dreaming, you know, that, you know, struggling underwater, you know, or you know, because I watch a lot of karate movies, I might have been in a karate fight, you know.
Yeah, you too.
Right.
Hey, Josh, another one too, man, is related to the sleep. Graveyard shifts. People that work overnight. There are studies that suggest that you increase your chance to be obese by 25 to 30% just because of working graveyard shifts. And there's a number of things that goes into that. Eating habits, you know, sleep, because you know when you graveyard, the world still operates in the daytime. So guess what you're going to be up doing in the daytime? Your doctor's appointments, if you got kids, attending their events, things like that. So you're going to tend to eat not as healthy. You know, it don't have to be that way, but just kind of the nature that comes from it, right?
It's true, man. I'm telling you, I didn't did it all. I worked from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I was a process engineer for Motorola, right? And so we running that plant. I'm talking about, I was working 10 hours a day, 6-7 days a week. And when I would get home, I wanted steak and macaroni and cheese, and then I would eat that food and go lay down. You know, and so this is what I'm saying. So, you know, I was a younger man. That was 30 years ago, and so I was the same weight that I am now, right? And folks used to see me out in the street, and they go like, "Yeah, you play for the Bears?" I'm like, "No, man, I don't play for the Bears," right? And so that 30 pound of mass, I know it makes me look like a football player, right? And so when I know about working that was worse than a graveyard shift. We went in at 5 p.m. and got off at 12, and then I had an hour to commute to home. You know, yeah, man. So and that's when I gained I got the heaviest that I ever been in my life. And it wasn't no working out, wasn't no, you know, So no, I would succinctly remember when I would get home, I would be like, what did you guys eat for dinner? It's like this, that's what I want. I would eat that and
go straight to sleep, right?
Yeah, man. After working 10 hours, had to drive home, right? Then I had to get up and do it again. It's time to go to sleep. So sleep. This is saying sleep and rest is the magic pill, right? And so my favorite personality, television personality, is Brian Gumbel. You know, I don't know if you watch Real Sports. You know, they've been on for almost 20 years now, right? So Brian was talking about, so, you know, so all these people are trying to get down on athletes for taking pain medications and this and that. He said the typical suburban housewife takes narcotics to go to sleep. That's a sleep medication. It's narcotics, right? Yeah. So we live in a world where everybody's addicted to drugs. I'm talking about to go to sleep. They need a narcotics to put themselves to sleep, man. So anybody on this live would testify y'all using narcotics to go to sleep, or sleeping pills?
You're on the testify.
Right, yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Yeah. So you're not sleeping well. We're eating all this processed food. I'm gonna tell you,
stress.
Yeah, stress making that gut swell. Right. I'm gonna tell you, it is being obese is not your fault. That was before you heard this information, right? Now you know that you can just some little change. I'm not talking about just a whole system change, just a little change at a time. But watching that sugar and salt intake, reduce that processed food, right? And walk a little bit, right?
Water, sleep.
Yeah, water, sleep. That's our recommendation, because if not, you're not going to retire well. You're gonna, this is my channel is all about promoting financial literacies. When I do my other lives, Wednesday morning, Wednesday at noon, we do a live. Friday morning, we do a live. And these are all financial topics. This is about health and finances. So how our health is impacting our ability to retire. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if you retire and you didn't take care of your health, you have 2 years before you die.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm. I give to God and go to bed.
We're asking about the sleep aids.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, that's a good one. Right. I cook all my meals and drink my water. See, that's it. You got the program, right?
And just to add on that last part about the retiring, they talked about the life expectancy, here in America versus other parts of the world. It's up, but what about the quality of life in those last, 10, 12, 15 years? When you're taking down pill after pill after pill, and, on these machines, they help you sleep. And, it can be done, but it starts, what you eat in your 30s and 40s, you're going to feel it in your 50s and 60s, but you can reverse it.
Yeah, the first show that I did on health and wealth, I was by myself, and I talked about the fact that it costs $404,000 for a healthy person to live to death, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, so if that's a healthy person, if from age 65 to 85, right, give yourself 20 years, the system trying to take $400,000 from a healthy person. Right. Yeah. And if you're unhealthy, it's going to be more. It's going to cost starting $1 million to retire.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you go to a nursing home, that's $100,000 a year minimum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that we ringing this bell to our community. Say, hey, it's time for us to wake up. We have endured enough, right?
Yeah.
We have endured slavery, Jim Crow, second-class citizenship. We have endured all of that. None of that killed us. None of that destroyed us. But they have found something. They have found something to destroy us. And we're being willing participants.
Tastes good though, Josh.
Yeah, right.
It's good to my taste buds.
Right. Smooth taste, good. Taste. What is that? Miller Lite tastes good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's Miller Lite, boy.
And not to mention, I'm a foodie. So when I travel, man, I'm looking for the best restaurants, but I can still do that. But it's just what am I putting in my body?
In moderation. So if you find the best restaurant have the healthiest food. Not the diners, drives, and the diners, drives, whatever that show is, where he go around the country finding all that.
Yeah,
right.
Holes in the walls, man.
No, that not them restaurant. But so with that said, I think we've been on here for a good hour. I think it's been a great conversation. I just want to, I'm gonna leave my part in thoughts, and I'm gonna give the floor to the Floor Is Yours podcast, and he's going to tell you how to connect with him and what he's doing. And he takes guests on his platform also. This is my part in thought. It is not your fault. I came when I approached this topic. Let's see this brother here. When I approached this topic, I had a different mindset that I began to see how they have been addicting us, right? Yeah. So, and I said, well, we didn't know. It snuck on us. It snuck up on us. It just crept slowly into our kitchens, right? Into our restaurants, until in the way that we were feeding and nourishing our children, right? It just crept into us unaware, right? And so now we are aware that it was intentional. It's nothing more than American greed, profits before people, right? Mm-hmm. And these companies are doing it all over the globe. But we who are informed, we can take back our lives, right? And that's my parting thoughts to you. Take back your life. If you need some help doing that, you can contact me at joshuapondexter.com. We'll help you. My brother.
Yeah, just real quick. It's some old wisdom. We are what we eat, and that's physically, spiritually, and mentally too. So what we feed ourselves is going to reflect how we're living, our quality of life and all that. So just want to encourage everybody to take some personal responsibility with your health. It's good to have the doctors and all that if we need them, but let that be a supplement to what you're doing for yourself. Take care of yourself by what you're eating. Again, Josh talked about the sleep, your water intake, reduce those sugar and sodium intake. Hypertension is a big thing in our community. A lot of what we're dealing with, unfortunately, is genetic, based, but we can reverse or deal better manage all that with our quality of life and by what we eat and and how we treat each other. One of the piece right there.
So yeah, absolutely. Here's another thing. Thank you, LinkedIn user. Diner Drives and Dives, right? I love that show. I'm gonna
check it out.
Yeah, it's on the Food Network. I love that show. Even though I don't eat that stuff, but I love the fact that those people are passionate about what they're doing, what they're cooking, and they do that. We have Latrice. She said, "Thanks for the invite. Thanks for tuning in." So we're here to help. I think Gerard, you didn't tell us when you were appearing on your shows, right? In your platforms that you stream on.
Yeah. So I'm on social media. It's the Floor Is Yours podcast on Facebook and YouTube. We're also on LinkedIn under MOSHE, MOSHE. Just real quick, if I can just give a plug about what MOSHE is. MOSHE Again, it's a grassroots organization. If you're familiar with the Jew and Christian faith, you know Moses and what he is to those faiths. So MOSHE is the Hebrew name for Moses, and we just turned MOSHE into an acronym, which stands for mobilize, organize, strategize, help, execute. So it's really just a model for us to bring purpose and direction when we try to address our challenges in our community. So find me on the internet as well. We're under MOSHE Inc. MOSHEINC.org. And we're in the community doing work. I'll be up in Chicago hopefully later this year, teaming with my man Josh. So also another plug, we'll be up in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area. One of my business partners, Carlos, his dad, if you is John Carlos, if you know the guy on the Olympics that had his fist up on the podium. Well, they do stuff in the community up there, and he has an event coming up in September. So follow me on Facebook, follow Carlos on Facebook for information about that. Again, we're just trying to make sure that we're doing our part, helping people change their mindset and feed people with the proper information necessary to help change our lives.
Appreciate that, Doc, man. I'm proud of you. You know, keep doing the good work. Hey, we appreciate all the people tuning in this evening. You could have been anywhere on a Monday night, but you came to rock with us. We appreciate you. So, as always, in parting, we wish you love, peace, and soul. I'm gonna grow me an afro.